Wanna get a full-frame anamorphic lens with literally tons of oval bokeh? There is one. Sirui 100mm t2.9 1.6x Anamorphic lens is a bokeh beast. Let's review this. Traditionally, as the whole lineup of Sirui lenses, full-frame lenses, we have Nikon Z mount, Sony E, Canon RF, and L mount. This is the final full-frame Sirui Anamorphic lens of this lineup, and I have full reviews of all three previous lenses on my channel. I'll leave the links down below. In this review, I will not cover some similarities that are existent in the other lenses, so you'd better watch all three of those previous reviews. I shot a mini documentary with 35mm lens and 100mm t2.9 1.6x Anamorphic lens, and you can find this as well in the description below. I really like this mini documentary with my friend Igor. A few words about the kit: 2 caps, very nice pouch, and awesome stickers. Let's address an elephant in the room, and when I say elephant, I mean it. This is the heaviest and the biggest Sirui lens to this day, and that is why it's pretty hard to work with, at least to me. The build quality and materials are still great, the same as in the whole lineup, no complaints here at all, and the focus ring has 100 degrees of focus throw. That's okay. Traditionally 82mm filter thread throughout the whole lineup, great as well. In my previous reviews I have already told you about 16:9 and 3:2 sensors while recording video in different cameras and the anamorphic squeeze ratio, so I wouldn't kind of repeat myself. And remember guys that you can always scale up your image or crop it to get the aspect ratio you want. On Sony a7s III, horizontally we get an equivalent of 75mm lens, and this is a telephoto range which gives us the compression and the separation from the background, and of course a lot of bokeh. A few words about IBIS. Steady Shot Active gave me better result than without any stabilization shooting handheld, and in the settings of the Steady Shot I've manually set it to 75mm, not 100, and as you can see we got better results with those settings. And guys, I highly recommend you use a good and steady tripod with this 100mm lens. The anamorphic squeeze ratio is 1.6, but all of the lineup except for 35mm lens has kinda changeable anamorphic squeeze ratio, because at infinity we do get 1.6 times, and at the minimum focus and distance we can get 1.52x. So that is why in post I do recommend you set your scale in terms of horizontal scale or the x scale to be 1.52x, for instance, not to make faces look too fat. And what really made me happy is the minimal focus and distance of 93 centimeters, and with this focal length we do get kind of close-up shots, and it was more than enough for me. But if you want to get really close, kind of macro, you can use diopters. I have already told you about diopters in my previous review, so I highly suggest you go there after this video. In terms of color, the whole lineup just matches perfectly. As you can see, 35mm and 100mm are almost the same in terms of white balance. The whole settings in camera and in post-processing were identical. In terms of sharpness, this lens is stack sharp from wide open and almost all across the frame, but if you want to, you can always make the image softer. I have already told you about it in my previous videos, so I won't repeat myself once again. I'm really sorry guys that I'm relating to my previous reviews a lot in this video, but I just think that it's not really worth it to repeat myself this many times. The vignette is more than acceptable, wide open, and if you really want to eliminate it, you can stop down to T4. In terms of chromatic aberrations, they do exist unfortunately, and they're pretty strong at T2.9. They get better, I mean, you get less chromatic aberrations at T4, and you almost eliminate them by T5.6. So be careful when shooting something very contrasty. The focus breathing is also minimal, one more pro for this lens. Here we have pincushion distortion, but it's also really minimal, especially if we compare it to Sirui 35mm t2.9. That was the distortion. By the way, near the lens mount we have 4 special screws, and you can adjust those to make the image look not distorted, so basically adjust the image, which is very nice. In terms of anamorphic lens flares, they do look nice and they're pretty fat as well, and all in all, in terms of the whole lineup, they have very similar color and characteristics, but sometimes when you point this lens at night to a lot of bright little sources, they can get a bit busy, I mean the light streaks, so I would give it 7 out of 10 probably. And what's the most important part of this lens? Yeah, bokeh. At first we have 13 bladed aperture, and the oval bokehs do keep the form and shape even when you stop down. And secondly, because of the focal length, you can easily get the bokehs in your shot, and they are very oval, very round, very nice and pronounced. I do like those. Overall impressions about this lens: if you can cope with the size and weight of this monster, you'll be more than happy. We have a lot of compression, and if we combine it with t2.9 aperture, we get a lot of background separation, nice bokeh, it's oval, it's pronounced, and also the light leaks and light streaks are also looking not that bad. Even though I hate this word, but this does look cinematic. Sirui 100mm t2.9 1.6x Anamorphic was a great lens to complement Sirui 35mm in my work, and also I do enjoy the minimal focus and distance to get some close-up shots without even using the diopters, and this lens does have a lot of character. The main disadvantage to me is the humongous size and weight of this lens. I think even the DJI RS2 stabilizer or gimbal wouldn't cope with it easily. So if you're not afraid of big and heavy optics, you'll like it, I'm sure. The price is $1,500 for any lens from this lineup, and I think I don't have to tell you about the professional cinematic, anamorphic lenses for thousands and thousands of dollars, so I do think that this lens is worth every dollar. And traditionally, I do recommend to rent this behemoth and to test it yourself, and if you do, you'll be able to shoot a masterpiece. That was a dense review. If you did enjoy it, please smash the like and subscribe buttons, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Take care, bye.